In the heart of rural America, nestled amidst vast stretches of countryside, lay the forgotten village of Cedar Hollow. Here, where the whispers of the wind danced through the fields and the trees, stood Maria's family home. A weathered farmhouse, its time-worn facade a testament to generations past. Returning from school one evening, Maria was greeted not by the warm embrace of her family, but by the haunting sight of their abandoned house. The sinking sun cast long, ominous shadows across the deserted landscape, and a sense of foreboding settled over the quiet village like a heavy shroud. With her father away and her mother at work, Maria found herself alone in the fading light, the silence broken only by the creaking of the old house and the distant cry of a lone coyote. As darkness fell and the stars blinked into existence overhead, Maria's solitude deepened, her senses sharpened by the eerie stillness of the night. But it was not until the clock struck 11 that the true horror began. A sudden knock at the door shattered the silence, sending a shiver down Maria's spine. With trembling hands, she approached, her heart pounding in her chest. But when she flung open the door, there was nothing but empty darkness staring back at her. Fear clawed at Maria's throat as she retreated to the safety of the upper floor, her mind racing with terrifying possibilities. Yet even as she tried to distract herself with her schoolwork, the sense of dread lingered like a stubborn specter. Then, through the window, she saw him, a shadowy figure standing motionless in the moonlit street, his presence sending a chill down her spine. Frantic, Maria reached for the phone, her fingers trembling as she dialed her mother's number. But instead of her mother's voice, there was only static on the other end of the line, punctuated by the crackle of electricity. And then, without warning, the lights flickered and died, plunging the house into pitch-black darkness. Maria's breath caught in her throat as she huddled beneath the covers, her heart pounding in her chest. For in the forgotten village of Cedar Hollow, where secrets whispered in the shadows and nightmares prowled just beyond the edge of sight, Maria would soon learn that some fears are all too real. And in the darkness of the night, she would come face to face with the true horror that lurked in the shadows of her own home. In the small Texan village where the whispers of the past linger like ghosts in the wind, there stood a house, weathered by time and shrouded in secrets. For generations, tales of strange occurrences had haunted the halls of this ancient abode, passed down like a cursed heirloom from one generation to the next. It was April when the Johnson family returned to their mother's house for the holidays, unaware of the darkness that awaited them. The old house creaked with anticipation as they settled in for the night, leaving only young Michael and his grandmother behind as the others ventured into the village. As the moon cast its eerie glow upon the murky waters of the nearby lake, Michael heard a peculiar noise echoing from the depths of the night. Ignoring the chill creeping down his spine, he dismissed it as the whispers of the wind and retired to bed. But sleep would not come easily that night, for at the stroke of midnight, Michael awoke to a sight that would haunt his nightmares for years to come. In the dim light of the kitchen stood a towering figure, its silhouette cloaked in darkness, its head grotesquely enlarged and black as pitch. Heart pounding, Michael fumbled for the light switch, but as the room flooded with light, the apparition vanished into thin air, leaving behind only a lingering sense of dread. Terrified, Michael sought solace in his grandmother's arms, but her soothing words did little to ease his troubled mind. It was then that she revealed the chilling truth hidden within the walls of their ancestral home. 10 years ago, your uncle disappeared without a trace, she whispered, her voice trembling with fear. He was ensnared by a love that turned to madness, driven by jealousy and fueled by obsession. With a heavy heart, she recounted the tale of a forbidden romance, of a girl who spurned her suitor's affections, and of a necklace cursed with the power to bind the living to the realm of the dead. And ever since that fateful night, she continued, her voice barely above a whisper. "Your uncle's spirit has wandered these halls, tormented by the sins of his past, forever seeking redemption that shall never come." As the echoes of her words faded into the night, a new sense of unease settled upon the Johnson household, for they knew that they were not alone in the darkness. And as the hours waned on, the shadows seemed to grow ever darker, concealing the horrors that lurked just beyond the edge of sight. For in the house where the past and present collide, the line between reality and nightmare blurs, and those who dare to tread its halls do so at their own peril. And so, the legacy of the cursed necklace lives on, weaving its sinister web around the unsuspecting souls who dare to cross its path, forever binding them to a fate far darker than death itself. In the quaint village of Valhalla, nestled amidst the rolling hills of Europe, there whispered a tale that sent shivers down the spine of even the bravest souls. It was a story that spoke of a haunted house, hidden away from prying eyes, where the veil between the living and the dead grew thin. Legend had it that on a moonless night, a young scholar returned home from his studies, his body racked with fever and his mind clouded with delirium. As he stumbled along the winding path that led to his ancestral home, he felt an icy grip tighten around his heart. The road, flanked by ancient trees with gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers, seemed to stretch on endlessly into the darkness. Not a soul stirred, and the only sound that pierced the silence was the haunting call of the night birds. Upon reaching the threshold of his home, the young scholar was greeted not by the warm embrace of his family, but by a chilling presence that lurked in the shadows. A figure, cloaked in darkness and with eyes that gleamed with malevolent intent, watched him from the depths of the night. As the scholar stepped across the threshold, a wave of terror washed over him, and he found himself ensnared in a nightmare from which there seemed to be no escape. The air grew thick with the stench of decay, and strange whispers echoed through the halls, speaking of ancient curses and restless spirits. In the dead of night, the house came alive with the sound of spectral footsteps and mournful wails that echoed through the empty corridors. The scholar's cries for help went unanswered, drowned out by the cacophony of the supernatural. It was only when the first light of dawn broke across the horizon that the nightmare finally came to an end. As the sun chased away the shadows of the night, the scholar emerged from the haunted house, his body trembling with fear, but his spirit unbroken. Though he had survived the ordeal, the memory of that fateful night would haunt him for years to come. A reminder of the thin line that separates the world of the living from the realm of the dead. And as the villagers whispered of the haunted house hidden in their midst, they knew that some mysteries were best left undisturbed, lest they awaken forces beyond their control.